Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I love you too. That's why I'm doing this. I had a nice life. I had a nice life. I didn't have to go before grand juries every time I fly over a state. If I fly over a state that happens to be Democrat run, they send me a subpoena to go before a grand jury. These people are sick. They're weaponizing that stuff. But you know, these polls are amazing. So today is very, very important and big. Emerson poll came out. So it has Trump at 62%, DeSantis at 16%, Mike Pence at 7%. Obviously, people are dreaming of energy independence, a strong military like you had, and borders and low taxes that are strong. We want strong borders. We want low taxes. We want low interest rates. We want to be respected throughout the world, not laughed at. We're laughed at. You know, I said in a speech recently, somebody said, what do you think about you? I said, he's a very powerful, strong man. He's at the top of his game. The fake news media said, how dare they say that? I said, what am I going to say? He controls 1.5 billion people. No, he's not at the top of his game. The same thing with other leaders. They're sharp. They're smart. They're at the top of their game. We're the only one that has one that's not. And he's not close. And he never really had a top of the game if you go back 25 years. In this week's big morning console poll, that's another big one, Trump is leading by 37 points. And last week's, I don't know if you've seen these, Steve. These are good numbers. Makes Steve's job easy. Don't assume that, Steve. Just keep working, because under the Clarity campaign poll, a big one, I lead by 45 points at 65, with DeSantis being at 20%, Pence at 4%, and Nikki Haley at 4%, and sloppy Chris Christie at less than 1%. Which, by the way, is substantially better than he did 7 years ago on the same stage against me right here in New Hampshire. Remember, he was less than 1%, so now he's still less than 1%. But he's doing much better, you know. Got a big mouth, that's all he's got. In Massachusetts, your neighbor, 70% for Trump. And in the Florida Voice poll, this is Florida we're talking about, 80% for Trump, 80. In a great place, South Carolina, we have a 22-point lead. In the victory poll of Iowa, it's Trump 54, DeSantis at 24. And in the new JL poll of New Hampshire, we're 33 points. Think of that one. 33 points up. I just saw that. That's pretty good. You're doing a good job, Steve. You're doing a good job. We're at 51% with all these people running, all these people. 51, we're up 33 points. But we will not play prevent defense. You ever see the NFL? They hold a team scoreless for almost 4 quarters. They just have to do it one more time, one more series, and they say, we're going to go prevent. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. We don't play prevent defense. It prevents you from winning. Prevent defense prevents you from winning. That's the worst defense. I don't like it. When I see, if you're with a team and they go prevent, say, bet on the opponent. And then they want to do something on the debates. Think of this. They want to debate. They want to have, I have people at 1/2 of 1%, 1/4 of 1%, 1%, 3%, 2%, 4%, 7%, and DeSantis is very low and crashing. He's crashing and burning. Don't forget, when he came to me, he was at 3%. So he failed in his campaign. Then I endorsed him, which I could have done without, but I endorsed him and he went up a lot. But he went up and he won. But when he campaigned for a long time, he failed. And now he's failing again, because now he's getting a chance to campaign without Trump, to put it mildly. But so these debates, you know, Nixon and Reagan and Bush number 1, others. No, they didn't debate in the primaries. They didn't debate. I mean, seriously, you look at the boards and you see these things, 1%, 1%, 2%, 1%, 3%, and you're looking at these numbers and we're at 60 and 70%. Why would you do that? You want intelligent people, don't you, to be running your country? But I do look forward to the debate with Joe. No, corrupt. With Crooked Joe. No, I look forward to that. Remember last time, I said, where and why did you accept $3.5 million? Remember that? Why did you accept, on the debate stage, I had that guy, Chris Wallace. How's he doing? How's his career going? Not too good. He always wanted to be his father, Mike, but somehow it didn't work out. It's called lack of talent. But think of this. Remember on the debate stage? I said to Biden, I said, why did you accept $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? And Chris Wallace, he didn't know how to answer the question. Chris Wallace said, you shouldn't be asking that question. I said, it has a lot to do. Why did he get $3.5 million from Moscow? He didn't do anything for it. And Chris Wallace stopped him from giving an answer, which he didn't have, by the way. Saved him. They want me to go to the Reagan Library, as an example, which is, nobody knew this until I brought it up yesterday, which is run by a guy named Fred Ryan. He is the chairman and CEO of the Washington Post. Can you believe it? This could only happen. The Washington Post, the enemy of the people, the Washington Post, think of this, is running the Reagan Library. I think Ronald Reagan would be spinning in his grave, okay? But you say, how did that happen? But they want me to go, and sadly, your Governor Sununu doesn't register. No, sort of isn't he a nasty guy? You know, it's funny, his father was very, very tough. But when I won, he became one of my best supporters. He really was. He really was great. But he was really tough. This guy doesn't have the same qualities. But You know what? Think of it. He could have run. He could have had a Senate seat. Would have helped so much. You know, he's playing games. But Sununu, if you take a look at what he's done, it's crazy. We're leading him, I guess, 58% to 7 in your state. You saw the poll. 58 to 7. And now if he ran for the Senate, he probably couldn't win even, you know, if you put him back in that same position. But he could have really made an impact. He could have run for the Senate, would have probably easily won because of the family name, would have won. And that would have been a tremendous thing. Instead, he wants to play games with running for president where he's registered at less than 1%. I don't think he's going to make it. If he made it, it would be the biggest upset in the history of politics. Any country. We'll include every single country all over the world. And he should stop being a nasty guy and telling people that I won't win in the general election, which I will. Remember? Speaking of which, we're leading Biden by 7 points in Rasmussen poll. We're leading him by 7 points in the Harvard poll, Harvard-Harris, and by 11 points in another poll. And by the way, the same people that said the same thing in 2016, well, maybe he'll win here, but he's not going to win in the general election. They love that. That's the only narrative they have left. But we're winning against everybody, and we're doing just as well in the general election. But it was the same people. I went in and I said, boy, I get killed in this. They say, he's not going to win in the election. And then I won. And then I won a second time by far more votes, but it was a rigged election. So, you know, what are you going to do? And that's the thing I asked Steve and all the people up here, because these are incredible people. I don't even care if you help me campaign. You don't have to help me. What I want you to do is help me on election evening, which is no longer election evening. It's election period. Because these people have like a month and 2 months to look around and play around with the votes. How people let this happen. We got to go to all paper ballots, voter ID, same day voting, 1 day. How about some of these guys? The votes aren't final until 2 weeks after the election. You say, how do you tabulate the results? What do everybody wait? The nation waits? It's a disgrace what's happened. And I asked the people on stage, and we have a lot of people in the audience that are great politicians and very important for your state, I don't want help. I don't even want help with the vote. I just want help on making sure the vote is cast and counted fairly. You know, Lenin, did anyone ever hear of Lenin? He said, the vote counter is far more important than the candidate. Has anyone ever heard? That's Lenin, as they say in Russia. But no, the vote counter is far more important. It's very sad. We did so unbelievable. We got more votes than any sitting president by far. We got millions of more votes than Barack Hussein Obama. I was told that we got the same number we can't lose. We got millions more, millions and millions more. And well, we thought we won until about 10:15 in the evening. Then all of a sudden we said, "What's going on here?" Now we got to straighten out our borders. We got to straighten out our elections because we're like a third world country. These incredible poll numbers are one of the main reasons that the Marxist left is coming after us, using the criminal justice system for massive election interference. That's what they're doing. They want to weaponize law enforcement to interfere with our elections through the use of the DOJ and the FBI, attorney generals, and local district attorneys who you know, the district attorney we have in New York, he's reporting into Washington. They sent one of the top guys from Washington to help him run his office. That's beautiful. Isn't it a wonderful life? But in the end, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. I'm just standing. I will always stand in their way. But we can't let that happen, because that's going to a lower level even than what happened in 2020. That's going, in my opinion, to a lower level that even happened in 2020. And they're working on it. I got more DAs and local people nobody ever heard of. We want the president in to testify. On what? I have nothing to do with it. Well, we want him in anyway to testify. Maybe he'll make a mistake. Maybe he'll do something. It's a disgrace. What's happening with our country is a disgrace, and it's a laughingstock all over the world. As the endless witch hunts and persecutions reveal, our enemies are desperate to stop us because they know we are the only ones who can stop them. They know that. There's never been a movement like this. By the way, in the history of our country, there's never been a movement like MAGA, Make America Great Again. There's never been a movement. We've never had a movement. And with all of the, I'm looking, it's a lot of fake news. With all of the news back there, nobody's ever questioned it. You know, if I say something and I'm like slightly off, they say, oh, he made a mistake, he this, that, you know, these people. I've never been challenged. I say it all the time. Are you hearing me? There's never been a movement in history, like MAGA, Make America Great Again. But unlike other politicians, the harder our enemies hit me, the stronger and more determined we are. And that's as a party and as a movement itself. They hit me and we're all together. I'm with you, you're with me. And the harder they hit, the better we do. You saw that a couple of weeks ago with these fakers. In recent months, I've been laying out a bold, forward-looking vision for what we will do when we become the 47th President of the United States. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It would have never happened. That war would have. I spoke to Putin about it. There was no chance that he would have gone in with me as president. And there was no chance that President Xi of China would have gone into Taiwan. I was the only president in decades who didn't start a war. You know that. Everyone said, oh, he's going to start a war because they said I had that personality to start a war. They remember that? Oh, we can't vote for him. He's going to start a war. No, I used my personality that we didn't have to have wars. And I got out of wars, including knocking the hell out of ISIS, took over 100% of the ISIS caliphate. 100%. I took over 99% of the ISIS caliphate. I said, all right, we're going home. Let's get our great soldiers. We're bringing them home. And the media started saying, well, why not 100? I said, you know what? We better finish it off because they'll say I left early and we knocked the hell out of them. That was the end of that. We took over 100%. We came home. But now I understand they're rebuilding again because they have no respect for our country. Standing before you today, I am the only candidate who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. I promise. Not going to be a World War III. And very sadly, there's never been talk like what you're hearing now, because this guy doesn't have a clue how to speak. He's too tough when he should be soft. He's too soft when he should be tough. He says things that are so bad, provokes, and then shows weakness. It's the craziest thing. He says just the opposite of what you have to say. I know Putin very well. I know Xi very well. I know Kim Jong-un. If I didn't take over from Obama, if he had another year, you would have had a nuclear war with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. You would have had a nuclear war. Then when I got along with him, everyone hated. The fake news hated that I got along. He gets along. Isn't it a good thing to get along with a guy with 5,000 nuclear weapons? That's okay. But I did get along with it. I got along with a lot of people that people are surprised, really surprised. That's why we had no wars, and they would have never gone in. And it's so all those people dead in Ukraine. Far more than you think. Far more than they report. These phony numbers where a city is blown up, buildings all crushed to the ground, there's nothing standing, and they say nobody was killed, 2 people were hurt. Hundreds of people, thousands of people were killed. These numbers are far greater and far worse than you hear. When I get back into the Oval Office, we will totally obliterate the deep state. We will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. By the way, they spied on my campaign. They got caught. Can you imagine if let's take Barack Hussein Obama. Let's say we spied on his campaign, you got caught. What do you think would happen? You think it would just be some stories? In only a few newspapers, because most of them don't even want to write it. They would have brought back the electric chair. That's what they would have done. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Unequal justice. And I will require every federal employee to pass a new civil service test. How about the president? Let's start with the president. Demonstrating an understanding of our Constitution. To stop the local Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting conservatives. On day one of my new administration, I will direct the DOJ to investigate every radical district attorney and attorney general in America for their illegal, racist, in reverse enforcement of the law. I will quickly restore the most secure border in U.S. history, just as we had 3 years ago. We had the strongest, most powerful, most secure border in the history of our country. 3 years ago, we had the most secure. We built hundreds of miles of wall. It worked, by the way. Then we were going to do 200 more miles of wall in certain areas where we could see it was a little weaker than we wanted it. We started that. Could have been finished in 3 weeks if he did it. We had the stuff ordered. He took it away and hid it so that Texas and Arizona couldn't use it. And that's what I said. I guess they really do want open borders. And they actually want open borders, and nobody understands why. Why do you want to have people from prisons? Why do they want that? Why do you want people from prisons and mental institutions and insane asylums? That's a step above. That's Silence of the Lamb type, okay? Why do we want these people in our country? Why are we allowing them? And you know, you have to see these other countries. They've never had it so good. Their prisons are emptied out into the U.S. They have no more costs. They don't want to take care of these people for 70 years, which is what you could have. I mean, they have this MS-13. You saw what happened yesterday with this killer, this thug. He was an MS-13. The level of violence, they called it demonic. The level of violence is incredible. We have become a dumping ground for the entire world. The money they save, no prisons, no mental institutions. There was a story recently about a psychologist or psychiatrist, but a psychologist who worked in mental wards in South America. And he said, I worked a good man, he worked 24 hours a day taking care of very mentally ill people. And he was sitting there reading a newspaper, and they asked him, what's he doing? He said, I have no more work. The people have all been let go into the United States. Can you believe this is what we're doing? How stupid are we? This is what we're doing. And this you pay for. I mean, sure, we can get a lot of them out, but this is what we're paying for. And the crime, you have not seen anything. Wait till you see this. But he said they've let him go in the United States. But this is not true with the 3 or 4 countries that we think of. Honduras and Mexico, El Salvador. This isn't just that little area. This is all over the world they're letting them in. From all over the world. They're coming through the southern border. And we had it stopped up. One of the very first bills I signed will be for a massive increase in Border Patrol and colossal increase in the number of ICE deportation officers. We're going to follow the Eisenhower model. People don't realize it with Eisenhower. He was very tough on illegal immigration. A lot of people don't realize that. He was really tough on illegal immigration. We will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. And they'll take them back, too. You know that story. They weren't taking them back, and I said, good, if they weren't taking them back for decades. And the generals came up to, sure, they won't take them back, sir. And I said, well, do we give them any money, like any kind of subsidies or anything? Yes, sir, I'd like to find out. So it comes back $750 million. $750. So I said, listen to 3 countries. I said, no more money for them starting this afternoon at 5 o'clock. The next morning, I got 3 calls from 3 presidents of 3 countries. Nice people, they're smart. I don't hold it against them. They got away with it for years. They put airplanes on the runways when we're flying in with prisoners or MS-13 people that you don't want in this country, believe me. These are vicious, the most violent gang in the world, probably. Almost definitely. And they put airplanes so you couldn't land a plane. So I said, how much, 750? I said, here's what we're doing. Immediately, you're going to stop payment of all money going to these countries. You're going to stop payment now. Next day, I get 3 calls. The presidents of those countries, separate calls, totally. Sir, I understand there's a misunderstanding. Yeah, we want your MS-13 killers that you sent over here. We want them back. And we want everybody to go back to your country. We're going to bring them back. Sir, we'd be honored to take MS-13 back. We think they're lovely people. What seems to be the problem? No, we would love to take them back. Immediately opened up. Nobody has seen that for 25 years. It took me one night. We would be honored. It would be a great honor to bring back MS-13 so they can kill our people instead of yours. No, it's terrible. The people that run our country are stupid people. I will ask every state and federal agency to identify every known or suspected gang member in America. And by the way, our police are incredible. Our firemen are incredible. Our police are incredible. And you know what? They know the bad ones. They're in the cities. These Democrat-run cities are going to hell. The whole world is watching. But these police are incredible. They know the bad ones, but they don't want to lose their pension. They don't want to lose their wife or their husband. They don't want to lose their home. So they're told to stand back. But they know every bad one. They know everything about it. But I'll ask every state and federal agency to identify every known or suspected gang member in America, and every one of them that is here illegally. The police know every one of them. And we'll pick them up and we'll send them back home where they came from. They'll be out of here. And I will restore my travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists out of our country. You saw what happened. 4 years. 4 years we went. 4 years. You saw that, right? We were very tough on that. We don't want our buildings blown up. We don't want to have problems. The Biden border crisis is also a drug and fentanyl crisis and a human trafficking crisis like never before, mostly with women, very sadly, mostly with women. And it's now the number is 12 times what it was 3 years ago, 12 times. We had it really down. We were so tough on that, what they do with women and to women. Under my administration, we reduced drug overdose deaths in New Hampshire by 18%. 18. We had it 15, then we had it 18. And our First Lady worked very hard on that, I will tell you. She worked very hard on that. And instead of being down under Biden, as you know, and your police and firemen do an incredible job, you have a real big drug problem in New Hampshire, incredible, almost worse than anybody, relatively speaking. That's what the governor should focus on, not running for president where he's at less than 1%. That's what he should focus on. But you have a real problem here, and I have to tell you, your police and your firemen, I spent time with them, and they took me around one day, and the job they do in saving people, a lot of the job they do is saving people that have overdosed. It's incredible. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's time that America is going to wage war. That's what we're going to do. We're going to wage war on the cartels. We're being invaded. Our country is being invaded and destroyed. I will knock out the cartels just as we destroyed and knocked out the ISIS caliphate. The ISIS caliphate is tougher. I was told you couldn't do it it would take 3 to 4 years to do it, and sir, I don't think we could do it at all. I did it in 3 weeks. I knocked them out in 3 weeks. We have great generals. I want not the guys on television that leave Afghanistan before they take out our equipment and our American citizens, where we lost 13 great people. And nobody ever says this, where many soldiers were just obliterated. Their arms, their legs, their face obliterated because of people that didn't know how to do their job. And why aren't these people fired? Why aren't they fired? And I will ask Congress to pass legislation ensuring that drug dealers, drug kingpins, and human traffickers receive the death penalty, because it's the only way you're going to stop it. You know, I went to China, and I had a great time, and it was amazing, amazing culture, frankly, and I was with President Xi. 1.4 to 1.5 billion people. I said, you have a drug problem? No drug problem. I said, you mean with all these people, you don't have a drug problem? No drug problem. Well, what do you ascribe the reason to, may I ask? I think I knew. He said, swift trial. You know, there's no games with it. These people, you know, when you meet with President Xi, he doesn't say, gee, how'd the Yankees do last night? Oh, we have a lovely day. Lovely day. Isn't it beautiful out? Oh, it's so beautiful, Donald. It's so great. He goes, we will immediately proceed to work. And you know what? I love that. I think that's great. There's no bullshit. Okay? I think that's great. We will proceed. You meet him for 2 minutes. We will proceed. There's no games. Yeah, how did the Boston Red Sox do today? No, they don't talk about that stuff. They talk about other things. But I said to him, so what do you think? He says, quick trial. Quick trial. You know what a quick trial is? They take the person, they try the person, and if they're a drug dealer, if they're selling drugs, unfortunately, they have the death penalty. And I don't think this country's ready for it. But they have no drug problem whatsoever. The big drug problem they have is they make drugs and send them into our country, like fentanyl. And even that, I had him set, except for this rigged election, he was set to make that a criminal, an absolute crime, with a death penalty for anybody making fentanyl. But once I left, once this horrible election took place, they send more over now than ever before. He was going to give the death penalty. That was his deal with me. He was going to give the death penalty to anybody that produced fentanyl. Can you believe that in China? It's too bad. All these people are dying all over. We're being invaded. It's like a human invasion. To combat the scourge of homelessness that is plaguing Democrat-run cities such as Manchester, I will use every possible authority to get the homeless off the streets immediately.